So uh, I was directed to the Council on Adolescence. That was my first job back into my career. I was going into the school system doing substance abuse education to the kids, and I was telling my story, and it just took off like wildfire. And so but Joanne Spees was the lady that gave me my first job, and she said I could only work if I stayed at Exodus for 6 months. And next thing I know, 6 months turned into a year. So I'm there for a year, and man, I'm really, back into my element now. And then Cognitive Connection saw me doing my program and offered me a job. And Miss Kathy Clay, she pulled me to the side. She says, "How much you making?" And I told her. She said, "I can beat that by this much." I've never had an opportunity to negotiate my salary until that was the first time.
Yeah.
And when it happened, I went from being a person going into the school doing education, and I became a substance abuse counselor because they sent me to school. So now God is putting all these things into my path. And then I started a mentoring program because when I was at Exodus, I saw these boys walking around the street doing school hours and pants sagging, and I'm like, somebody's got to do something for these kids. So I began to pray to God about doing a program, and He started giving me this curriculum nightly and weekly. I would start writing stuff down, and before I knew it, I had a whole curriculum for a mentoring program. And I remember I took it to Reb, and I said, "Reb, look here, can I do this program here?" He looked at it and he said, turned over, said, "Tell me about it," because he thought I had copied it or something.
Yeah.
Because it was elaborate. And I told him verbatim exactly how that program should run, and he was like, "Wow," So now they begin to look for people to help me get this program up and running. And Hickory Public Housing, because I had went to several people, they didn't want to do it, but Hickory Public Housing offered me opportunity to go in and do a mentoring program there. It was called the Young Men of Integrity at that time. And so I go in, and they gave me six boys, and I began to mentor them. And what I did was I took the things that I learned on the street and began to apply them things to my program, and it just picked up. And the boys went back and started telling their friends about it. So I went from 6 to 12 to 20, and I'm by myself.
Yeah.
And God was just increasing my territory. I was like, wow. And so now I got to go out and I got to get people to help me. I got to get mentors. So what did I do? I went right back to Exodus because I knew those guys had been through something. And the only way to really reach kids on the street is to have gone through something.
Yeah.
So those guys came in, and now I got a group of people around me, and we went into that community, and we were turning things around left and right, and the program got really successful and picked up, and so here I am now working with these kids on the street, and I get a call from the superintendent from Catawba County Schools. I thought I'd never get back into the school system.
Yeah.
He said, "We're getting ready to start an alternative program down here in Catawba County. I need you to come down here and run it." I said, "Well, sir, I'm not a principal. I don't know nothing about that." And he said, "Well, I don't need you to be a principal. I just need you to do what you're doing on the street with these kids at the alternative school." So here again, I go down there, and he says, "How much you want me to pay you?" Again. Here I am negotiating my own salary, and I've never had an opportunity to do that. So I gave him a number, and he said, "That's all you want? Okay, sign the contract." And in my mind, I'm thinking, I should ask for more money, But it was the opportunity that was more valuable to me than anything else. So now I am a coordinator of an alternative school and running my mentoring program on the side. And the alternative school won an award for graduating the most students in the state of North Carolina that year. So I'm getting all this success, and I'm back in my element, and God is just, putting these things in my path, and all of a sudden the school starts getting so big. Now they needed a certified principal to run it. So they said, well, you got to go back to school. You got to get your graduate degree. And man, I hadn't been in school since I graduated in 1980. And here I am, 2011, having to go back to school. But so I started applying for graduate schools, and nobody would take me in. And I applied Appalachian State, and they denied me. And so I wrote them a letter, because you know how to take this test, allegory test, something like that. But I wrote them a letter. I said, if you let me in your program, I promise you, I will represent Appalachian State very well. And I sat down on the bed, and I was just so discouraged, because I knew I was going to lose my job at the alternative school. And I get this letter in the mail from Appalachian State. Didn't pass the test. They said, we're going to let you in on a probationary contract. Here it is. Again, God is opening doors for me, man. I'm like, wow. So I get into the graduate program, and I'm making A's and B's. I've never made A's and B's in college. But it was just, I was hungry. And when you're hungry, you'll do things. I mean, you're just so passionate about what you do. So here I am, and I finally get my master's degree, and I become a principal. And then they send me to the largest high school in Catawba County. I went from 34 students to 1,280. And I was so nervous the first day, because I'm like, I started out with 6 kids on the street at Hickory Public Housing. Now I got 1,280, and I was the first African American principal at that school. So I go in, and it just took off, and I became very successful. I started a mentoring program at the school. I started a step team at the school, and here I am giving back to at-risk kids in a larger capacity. So I did that for 9 years, and then of course I have other kids, but here I am, 57 years old, and I get married again, and my wife, Lakeisha Ross Johnson, tells me she's pregnant. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, I'm 57 years old, So God is just, and he knew what I needed. And I got this little girl, that I'm, raising, and she is just an inspiration to me. So I go out into the community now, and she's 10 years old, and I remember when she was younger, people always thought that was my granddaughter. But man, I said, nah, your grandchildren, you can give them back to their parents. I couldn't give her back. And when I came home, she didn't see age. All she saw was her daddy. And that was another inspiration to me. So I did what I did there, and then retired in 2023 with 29 years in the school system. So and so that's what I've been doing over the years. But I look back, and I look on how Exodus was the thing that catapulted me into getting back into my career and getting my self-esteem back, allow me to be who God intended me to be.
If you only had one word to describe Exodus, what would it be? Because looking back at your journey, it's an incredible story, and Exodus, like you said, is the catalyst for the greatest change in your life. So if you had one word only to describe them, what would it be?
I would say that it was God. That's the one word. It's a program and it's anointed.
Yes.
Because while I was at Exodus, I would see so many people get impatient and
Mhm.
go right back to the street.
Yeah.
And it's like the devil would be, he's like a lion. He would pace outside the fence. You know, we're at the Horseshoe, you know, that's where the apartments are.
Yeah.
And the drug dealers would be right outside. You know, they would be right there on the, you know,
Yeah.
right out there trying to lure us. You know, and we had a zone of, we couldn't go a block away from Exodus when I was
Mhm.
there. So, long as I was in the anointed place,
Yeah.
I was going to, you know, excel. But God is all over this program, and if you knew the history about Exodus, you see what God has done. He's increased the territory, and they've placed so many people back in the community and
Mhm.
rebuild lives
Yeah.
that it's unbelievable, you know. So yeah, God is, you know, that's all I can think about is that when I think about Exodus.
Yes.
God used Exodus to help me get my life back on track.
Chris Johnson, thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. All right. Okay. Awesome, man.